hello, Indrani Desouza. How are you?
I can't.
I love doing this with you.
I am thrilled to do this with you. You have no idea.
I've been dying to talk to you, so this is an opportune
You know
time.
what's funny? We're always like, text, miss,
Wanting
text,
to get together.
Can you?
Wanting
I
to
don't
get
know.
together.
I got sick.
Should we
can't.
not?
The kids, the this,
COVID,
the that. And
this,
it's like,
that,
you know
the
what?
other.
I'll get together
But
with
we
you.
know we love each other.
On camera.
You're like, this woman's not going to miss an opportunity to be on camera.
She will come.
She'll claw her way.
If you build
claw
it,
her way
she
down
will
La
come.
Cienega.
You look absolutely the same. It's
Oh my
weird.
gosh, so do you. Your face is a time capsule. A beautiful time capsule.
And this is why I'm such good friends
I don't
with
know.
you,
Well, this is how
darling.
we've maintained our flattery will get us both everywhere.
Oh my God.
I mean, we devolved into beauty, health, and fitness almost immediately. I know we're here to talk about acting, but
hey,
you know,
come on.
it features
There's
in the
life.
acting thing.
There's
And
life,
certainly,
yeah.
there's some
Image.
appearance involved.
Yeah, you know, it's
It's a ball of wax. It's all in the same wheelhouse.
It's a visual medium.
It
Come on.
is. It's a very visual medium. Film is
Now, I ask everyone this, and I'm dying to hear your answer because I don't think I've ever asked it of you.
Yeah.
Why did you ever choose acting? Why? What was it?
It was one of those things. It really was from when I was very little. It was, I always marvel at people. It's amazing to me that it happens where you switch horses later in life. From jump, when I was in very formative years, remember thinking that being up on stage and inhabiting a role and building a character and emoting in any way, shape, or form where people were delighted or just a captive audience,
That's funny.
was like a thing that lit me up from the inside from very, very young. I knew I wanted to be an actor, and I knew that that was like a magical thing to be able to maintain if you were able to fight the nerves, enjoy the ride, and you know, it came very easily to me. I did not have the stage fright. I certainly don't have the nerves thing. I think has been advantageous in the whole grand scheme of my acting career because I don't.
Makes you
I have
pretty
other
fearless.
hang-ups, so don't get me wrong. But the nerves thing, I'm
Makes you
pretty good at
fearless.
getting on top of it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They're still there, but it's that fight or flight moment. I usually am able to kind of like not give into it, you know,
That's a gift.
under pressure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I love people, and I'm curious about what makes people tick. And just the idiosyncrasies of all the different versions of humanity and how the backstory influences the choices. And I mean, all of it, it's the psychology element of acting I find fascinating. And my backup career was always going to be some kind of psychoanalyst or psychologist, which is not a backup career because you've had 100 years of school
Yeah, I
involved.
know.
It's not a great backup career. Instead I went into real
It's
estate.
just such a long
The real estate, I got my license online. That was that one out.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome.
It was a quick hit, and I had a sideline as a realtor. But yeah, the acting has always been my first love.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This interest in psychology, were your parents like that? You know, were you around people that nurtured that? Where did that come from?
I grew up in an environment where my parents were very much a product of their environment, which was they're very, very woke together people spiritually and psychologically. You know my mom very well. Megan Molloy, you love my mom. But probably
I
not
love
from
Megan Molloy.
I mean, it doesn't get better than her. It doesn't.
Gosh.
You know, they're really interesting people, my parents, but probably more it grew up for them. They grew up in the Bronx and they grew up in an environment where they were probably not celebrating big feelings, you know. So it was like a nice outlet for me to explore having a safe place to explore emotions, which was acting for me, you know. And then I also love musical theater. So always the entree, it seems like most people in high school, the love of musicals leads to, you know,
It's
you
the
either
drama
stay in it or you
program.
have really good pictures from high school. So I stayed in it. Yeah. But no, I think acting is a thing you can have your whole life. I've definitely ebbed and flowed in and out of it. You know about my story. The voiceover thing really hit. And then it was such a
Hugely
lucky
so.
thing. And
You're
basically,
so successful.
well, it's been a wonderful, lucky thing. I recognize that there are a lot of talented people with good voices. So it was a nice thing that happened. But what happened a little bit, I always wonder, I atrophied a little bit with the on-camera because what happens is when you're putting your head against the same brick wall for many years and something comes easily, like the voiceover, it's tempting to sort of just move in that direction and take a break from the rejection. But I always am in and out of it. It's my first love, and I always study. You know, I'm always in class. I love your class. I love what you do.
Well, that's why they call it voice act. Thank you.
Well, it's true.
It's like a voice act.
I find that if I spend money in that direction on classes, my booking ratio goes up. I mean, it definitely ties into the voice acting. You know, it is part of the same sphere, you know. But anyway, it's been a wonderful ride.
Something interesting you just said. I don't know this for sure. Your parents from the Bronx. Did you grow up in the Bronx?
I'm from, so my
Because I
parents
don't
were
hear
from
an
the Bronx.
accent.
Only when I drank was the New York come out. And I basically grew up in the northern suburbs of New York City. So basically they came from the Bronx. They wanted like a patch of grass. You basically leave those 5 boroughs and go, you know, there is some grass to be had. It's at a premium. It's very expensive.
Yes, it is.
But they went to the northern city, the suburbs of New York City, Westchester, which is where I grew up. So I grew up very exposed to like acting and theater and all the culture of New York City, because you're basically a half-hour train ride into Metro North, Grand Central. So I grew up very aware of like the Broadway, you know, situation and museums and like, it's like a real cultural, obviously, one of the cultural hubs of the entire universe, New York City.
Oh, man.
And so that was like a lot of exposure at a young age of like what the arts can mean for people and how that it's a viable career. You know, I think some people grow up in places where it doesn't feel like a viable career. You know, it's not an area that has a lot of examples of that. So the New York thing really was like an important piece to shaping my wanting to do it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, you said, you know, like there are times where it's like I step away from it.
Yeah.
You know, and I do the thing.
And I think it's important to step away from it sometimes.
Yes.
You can always go home again. Always.
That's right.
It's like,
I like that you said that. You can always come home again.
You can always go home again. So it's still like a great love of yours, you know, but you need to know when to, you don't want to burn out.
Yeah.
You gotta take breaks.
What is it in your, I like that. What is it in your body, in your personhood that just when it happens, you're like, oh, I got to go back.
Oh.
What happens?
I think some of the biggest boosts in my personal growth as like my character have come from wrestling through a difficult scene, wanting to give up on yourself, having 12 pages the night before and realizing that I can actually do that, and getting on top of the fight or flight response, like we talked about the nerves, like to be able to have gone in, be a little shaken up and say, no, you worked hard on this, you made choices, you are someone who is not going to get mired in this, you are going to nail it, and even if you don't get it, you're going to make a nice appearance. Some of that stuff is such like celebratory kind of consensus building, self-esteem building stuff for a person, for an artist, you know, to know that you trust yourself, that you're not going to, even your worst job is probably fine. You might not get it, but the worst thing that can happen is not so bad. I think that's like a good metaphor for life. The get up and go of life. I mean, a lot of life is not easy. And sometimes you want to deflate and give up on yourself. And you just have to like wrestle through some of those moments with yourself. I think it can be on a bigger scale than acting. An incredible part of your personal development is trusting yourself that you're gonna do a good job. You're a person who cares about doing a good job in whatever you do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you care about quality and you really put in that time and that effort.
Yes. And it really shows. And it really feeds your confidence. I mean, one of my biggest things about acting is like know your lines. I just feel like, I mean, I know it sounds so simple and ridiculous, but it's like if you know your lines, there is such a freedom to play, and it informs the nerve thing and the confidence thing so greatly that you are so delighted to be there and kind of play within this preparation. It's like a wonderful bubble to be in.
I love it.
I mean, some of my worst experiences were not in having the lines down, thinking I had it and I just didn't.
Oh.
And you just can't even start to play. You can't even enjoy yourself. You're just
You're stuck in your head.
grasping. Yeah, and kind of beating yourself up halfway through you're not even in it anymore. You're like, what did I do?
What's going on?
Yeah.
I don't know why did I say that like that?
I've already given up on myself and I'm not even done.
Right.
Yeah, it's like the worst feeling.
Given up on myself.
Yeah, like
I
I am now not speaking to myself, and yet I have 5 more pages. I have 5 more pages.
That is hilarious. You're right.
Some of the worst experiences, right?
But that does not break us.
No,
Right?
of course not. Well, and then, I think part of the thing when you take breaks from acting, because I have had some breaks. I had 3 kids, and basically,
You're the only mother I've spoken to.
Really?
So far.
So that informs the acting thing too,
How
because
has
it
that
clarifies.
changed you?
Wow,
Yes.
you're so present. The mind of a child is so malleable that you really don't want to miss a beat, and you develop the muscle of being present with your children. I mean, it's like being a parent is demanding, and there's a lot of joy, but there's a lot of custodial elements to it too. I think what I've learned is to like really work hard. And it does make you a better actor, it makes you a better artist, I think, to be able to enjoy those like really in the moment times with your little ones, because it's fleeting, it's ephemeral, and it's going to be gone. And like the joy in the unknown, and like really sitting in like a quality time with them, and like being all there, like is a similar muscle to getting into a scene and being all there, you know, to really just like lose yourself and be right there, like right at the surface. I think kids can do that for you. They can inform that muscle.
Because there's no planning, there's no nothing. It's just,
I mean, you can try.
coming at you.
You could try.
Well, of course. There's an idea of how I would like it to go.
Yeah, and
It
that's
definitely
that's never the way it goes.
It
Never
seems
the way
like
it goes.
it's like improv.
Yeah. No, it's kind of
have
like
to.
the ultimate improv.
Yes.
Because no one really, what's crazy about being a parent is no one really feels like they're prepared or like nailing it. So it's like, it's an exercise in like by the seat of your pants. It's very improv-y. Someone happened to have a few kids. It doesn't mean they're like, I always think it's funny when you have other moms trying to identify as we're mom friends. It's like, I understand it's sort of parallel play because you're at a similar impasse in life with similar aged kids. But I've always found it amusing. The mom friend thing is sort of a myth. It's like, just because you popped out a baby and I had a baby,
Does
that mean we have anything in common? I mean, people have been dropping babies in rice paddies for centuries. I don't. It doesn't mean they're best friends, right?
It's like,
It's just interesting.
Where have you been my whole life, friend? Right?
No, it's like a lot of people have kids, and no one really feels ready. Is really the point. So it's really the ultimate improv exercise. Improv Olympic is nothing on those 3 children of mine. I mean. Yes, and sometimes no.
Yes, and.
Sometimes I negate.
Yes, no.
yes, no. Maybe not such an improv exercise when I say no a lot. You have to say no.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Otherwise, there'll be serious repercussions.
Yes. Well, and I also think my devotion to my craft or anything I do that takes me out of being a mom, it's like it really does clarify that too for you. You think, gosh, I really have such limited bandwidth, real estate in my brain, actual time to do any of this stuff. That like that's another opportunity to be really present, because it's so precious for you to have those moments outside of the the insular motherhood situation that's pretty constant and wonderful, but like so lucky to go to a class or go off to toddle off to an audition. Like you just feel it feels like a vacation.
Like a
it doesn't feel stressful. It feels like an easy, it feels like you get the night off. Like it's wonderful. You go play.
Yeah. But it's also
so lucky.
In a weird way, I don't want to sound highfalutin, but it's like self-care for your artistic soul.
Chicken soup for sure.
Right?
Absolutely. No, I always feel like it's a vacation when I get to pursue any of this stuff. It's so lucky to even, if it feels surreal that any of this is viable or part of my world. It's so like a lucky thing, to be able to explore it still.
Yeah.
You hear of a lot of people being done after they have kids, or just don't have the time, it becomes impractical.
Right.
But it's not impractical. It is self-care. You're right.
Yeah. It's really well said. Any regrets?
Oh, definitely. I really think, I wish I had come to the party a little earlier, but things happen the way they happen, right?
Yeah.
I just wish I had been a little bit more well put together, confidence-wise, in my 20s. Also it was an era. I'm 43. It was like during a time when you could really make like big inroads. It felt like a little bit of an easier industry back then. Mm-hmm. And I just was I just wasn't there yet. I just wasn't there yet with confidence. I mean, you and I have talked about this. It's like how you hit 40 and suddenly you kind of have this awakening that you give less of a shit about what people think of you. And it's a joyful transition that happens to a lot of, I think, women and men, but I'm only a woman, so that's the only experience I have.
It can only come from this, yes.
Yeah, and people pleasing my whole life and sort of backing off on things to not make waves, and I think it would have been nice if I had made a few more waves. I think now I make all sorts of tsunamis, so I could have had like a few more ripples a little younger, and I think probably the career would have been further along. I cared a lot what other people thought. I think that can really stop you up.
That's
creatively.
great thing that you just said.
Yeah.
Because somebody's going to hear that.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, let it rip. Life is short. We might not come back as seagulls. This could be it.
Let it rip.
This could be it.
Thank you, Megan.